And if I want any fish, I know where they are. So I'm the main person who take care of the family when I was 9 years old. I'm so proud of myself. But when I was 12 or 13, the electricity came to my village. And then the TV came. The TV bring the new word to us. They said, you are poor. You have no car. You have no big house. I start to feel bad after that because I have no cars, no big house. And then the one prime minister at that time, he said, there's no poor people in the group of diligent people. If you work hard, you will not be poor. That make me feel exciting to go to Bangkok. I feel like I will not be poor because I can work harder than normal people. So I went to Bangkok, spent 7 years in Bangkok, worked very hard. No day off for many years. I work more than 8 hours per day. But my life in Bangkok very miserable. I don't have enough to eat. I eat a bowl of noodle per meal, or sometimes just a plate of fried rice. But hard work people like me, we need a lot of food. We live in a small room with many people. Very hot. I start to have questions inside my head. Why people have to work 8 hours per day? I asked many people. People said, you're crazy. This is the way the world is. Everybody have to work 8 hours per day. But I feel like it's wrong. Why humans have to work 8 hours per day and not have enough to eat? Because when I was a kid, nobody worked 8 hours per day. They work only 2 months a year. 1 month of planting rice, another month of harvesting the rice. Another 10 months is free time. That's why in Thailand, we have a lot of festival every month. It's fun. But now, we are civilized. We develop a lot. And people work harder and harder. It makes me think about what's the meaning of development? What's the meaning of civilization? That means people have to work harder and harder. I start to think, when I was a kid, nobody worked 8 hours per day. But when I was young, everybody worked 8 hours per day. And now, I'm 53 years old. People work more than 10 hours per day, every day. Even they say they have day off, but they still work at home. Imagine if we develop the way of living in this way. In the next 10 years, when my son growing up, how many hours he can sleep? So this makes me question a lot. Why we have to develop our life in the way that make it harder and more complicated. So I feel like the way we live now is wrong, very wrong. I make decision to quit the job in Bangkok. I feel like Bangkok is not a city for human. It's a place for robot. Human need love, need freedom, need to be happy. But to be in the city, you cannot think about that at all. Just think about work and work and work and work and die. So that's very boring life. So I went back home. I feel very confused with my life. What can I do? I quit my job. I have no salary, no insurance, nothing. But when I went back home, I started to think, I want to be like a villagers. But villagers in my village totally changed. They are not happy like when I was a kid anymore. They work harder than before. They grow rice. After they grow rice, they grow tapioca. And after that, they grow corn. They grow all year round. But the more they work, the more they poor, the more they in debt. So I cannot be villagers again. What can I be? It's very hard for me to live. I feel like the world is so lonely. Nobody that I can talk with. But I just come back to myself and think, at least I need to have food to eat. We born to be human, we should not be hungry. And then we grew up in the most fertile country in the world, in tropical country. We have more food than anybody. Why we have to be poor? I feel sad that a lot of Thai people eat chicken bone, chicken feet, chicken head, no meat. We are farmers who grow food, but why we don't have food to eat? There's something wrong in our thinking. So I start small garden at the beginning. Maybe 1/4 of acres, very small. I collecting all the vegetable seed in the village. I got 50 varieties of vegetable. But each of them I grow not more than 5. 5 chilies, 5 eggplants, 5 beans, 5 papayas, everything not more than 5. But 50 variety in small area. I spend only 15 minutes to water the garden. And then after that, I start to make compost myself, collecting straw, make a pile, collecting cow dungs in the village. My village have a lot of cows. Before the cow walk out of the village, they poop a lot. So I pick up. So the whole village gossiping about me. They said, oh, he went to study so long in Bangkok. He read too many books, and now he have mental problem. He came back home and collecting cow dungs. So I feel like collecting cow dung is good thing because you clean the village, you make the village look good. Why people think I'm crazy? So that means the whole village is crazy. Only me become normal. So I feel proud of myself. The person who feel bad the most is my mother, because my mother expects that I will go to the city and learn a lot and success in my life and come back home. But I came back home with nothing. But after I make the compost and I put in the garden, only 3 months, the whole garden looked green and nice. I noticed that my mother changed a lot after that. Because my mother need to work hard and save 3,000 baht per month. I don't know how many to compare to Malaysian's money. 3,000 baht to buy food to feed 6 people in 1 month. But after I make the garden 3 months, my mother went to the market and she come back with bare hand. Because in the market there's less than 5 varieties of vegetable. But in my garden, 50 varieties. So my mother start to deposit money, 3,000 baht per month, every month after that. So she feel happy. It's okay if you are crazy, as long as we can deposit money every month. So I discovered that I work only less than 1 hour per day, but I can produce enough food to feed 6 people in the family. That make me think, why I'm so stupid? I work 8 hours in Bangkok, not enough to feed only 1 person. So I cannot go back to the city anymore. And then I discovered that 1 family cannot eat the whole 5 chilies plants. So we need to sell the surplus. We make another 200, 300 baht per day after that. Minimum wage at that time is 100 baht per day. But I work only less than 1 hour per day. But I make 200 baht at least. So I feel like life is very easy. Why people have to work so much? I have my own food. I feed the whole family. And then after that, I want to have a house. But to have a house like a normal people, it's very hard, spend a lot of money. Some people spend 30 years to be in debt to pay off for the house. Some people, they die before they finish pay off the debt of the house. So I cannot build house like a normal people. When I look at the birds, I feel ashamed. The bird never go to university. The bird have no credit card. But they can make a beautiful nest in 2 days. But clever human like us, we know everything. We know who's the first prime president of America. We know how far the moon from the sun. We know everything. But we cannot build a house. That makes me feel sad. Human, why we are so stupid like this? So I make a decision to make a bamboo hut. I went to the bamboo clump and chop them down and make a small house. To call a house, I feel ashamed, it's too small, so I said a hut. But I love it because small hut, bamboo hut is very comfortable to live in there. I clean the house only 1 minute per day. But my friend who's a teacher who borrowed money from the bank and built 2-story house, he spent 1 hour per day to clean his fancy house. I feel proud of myself. In 1 year, I spent only 365 minutes per year. But my friend, 365 hours per year. You can do many things in this much time. You can take a nap, you can travel, you can do many things. But he spent money cleaning the house. So I love small house after that. But one day, I come across with earthen house. I start to build the first earthen house in Thailand. I spend only 2 hours per day, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock every day, making bricks, mixing the mud with rice husk and water, and making bricks. 3 months, I got a house, a very stable house. I feel like house is very easy. Why people have to spend all their life to build a house? And after that, I keep building house every year. In my hometown now, there's 4 houses in the northeastern of Thailand. After that, I moved to the north of Thailand in Chiang Mai. Now, I have more than 20 houses in Chiang Mai. I did not have a lot of money like many people, but I have many houses. The problem is tonight where I'm going to sleep. It's a big problem. So, I have been conduct a lot of workshops in Thailand, all over the country. Help people to build a house. Because house is so easy. My son, 9 years old, he started to build his own house. Anybody can build houses. So, house is not a problem anymore now. It's so easy. You can build house anytime, anywhere. And after that, I'm a person who stopped buying clothes more than 30 years right now. I never buy any clothes. I use old clothes. Because I feel like we have so many clothes on this earth. Why we have to buy a new one? And I used to think about when I was in Bangkok, why I never have enough money. I think about myself, where did my money go? I found that 60% of my income I spend for what we call fashion, what we like or we don't like. So we spend so much money to buy something that we don't need it. So I just stopped buying clothes. It changed my life a lot. And before that, I feel very shy because I'm poor. I have low education. I'm not clever like a normal people. I'm so shy until I cannot talk with women. I become virgin man until 30 years. But After I stop buying clothes, I don't care the fashion. I be myself. I don't want to be like a movie star, like a singer. I don't want to be like anybody. I'm one on this earth. I'm unique. When I start to think like that, I don't know. My self-esteem rising up inside me. When I'm confident in myself, people confidence in me. I think this is the real charm in our life. Even I dress very expensive clothes, nobody knows it's expensive. If I told them, oh, this clothes is $100,000, they look at me, oh, it's fake one. You're poor. So, after I changed my thinking, one woman came to me and she said she wants to marry me. So it's the first time I married in my life. So it seemed like your life is always easy and easy. So we live together now in Chiang Mai, 20 people live together. Nobody buy clothes. If my clothes look too old, we dye them with the leaves, with the clay color. We got a new clothes. And then one woman, she don't like her t-shirt. She cut off the top part of it, and then put a rubber on top and become a skirt. She put a skirt t-shirt, walk into the city. Do you believe that? There's a magazine from from Europe, follow her to take a picture. So the fashion is, if it comes from inside you, it's more interesting. New idea, you have your own idea, your own imagination. That's more important than fashion. And after that, all of us never follow fashion. Because fashion is waste a lot of money. If we follow it, we never catch up with it because we follow it. So we don't need to follow. We need to lead the fashion. So now my life is very easy. I just dress what I have. If people don't like me, it's their problem, it's not my problem. So I'm happy. That's good enough. I should not suffer to make people happy. It's impossible to make other people happy, but it's possible to make myself happy. That's the way it is. And the most important thing is self-healing. Because when I left Bangkok, one thing that I worry most is when I get sick, what will happen? I have no money, no insurance. So I learned to do self-healing. I use water for healing. I use clay for healing. I use herbal plant for healing. I feel like it's good. I can help myself a lot. But actually, I misunderstanding that I thought if I quit Bangkok, if I quit my job, I will have no money. Actually, when I start to move to the village, I have saving money more and more and more. Because I got 200 baht per day, every day, and I deposit all of them. Because I did not invest money in farming, I invest labor. The more I use labor, I have more energy and have more money. So I have money. Even I don't want it, but I still have it. So after I came back home to rely on myself in the 4 basic needs: food, shelter, clothes, medicine. That changed my life. I feel confident. I feel like this is the real freedom on this earth. Even you have a lot of money, but if you cannot rely on yourself in these 4 basic things, that means no freedom. You have more fear, more worry, more stress. And now, I married and have a family. I have a son. Many people worry about to have a son. They have kids. You need to spend a lot of money. But we don't spend any money with kids. We don't feed food or water to my kids almost 1 year. We give only milk from mother. So feed only mother, don't feed the baby. So give massage to mother every day, give a good food every day, and then she produce good meal for the baby. So my son growing up very healthy. And now my son is 13 years old. We don't send him to school. Because school spend a lot of money, spend a lot of time. School kill a lot of people. Because school torture the kids. The kids have to have fun, have to be happy. But they put all the kids into a small room and let them stay there, listen and obey the command. So the kids suffer a lot. Many kids have mental problems because they go to school. So out of school, they learn a lot. So my son now, we do homeschooling, we're teaching at home. He learned everything by himself. We don't need to teach. When they're happy, they learn a lot. So now our family is very happy. So we live together as a community now. We have 20 people live together. We have 100 chicken for eggs. We have 2 cows for milk. And then we have food. We have rice, we have fish pond. We have a lot of fruit tree. We use organic banana to feed our cows. Our chicken eat organic rice. Even rich people in the city cannot buy organic food to eat. We feel like this is very special. Life is one thing we can design it. So life is easy if we design it to make it easy. If it's hard, it's wrong. So that's my story to tell you today. And then I want to say that life is in our hand. We can design it the way we want it. Whenever you feel suffer, you feel stressed, you feel tense, remember that you have choice to have fun anytime. Just change our thinking. It's okay to think different from normal people. It's not our problem, it's their problem. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Great. Time for self-reflection. Just to test the waters, I will allow 2 questions, straight from the heart. Would you join John in Panpan, or you have other ideas? 2 questions or 2 thoughts. In KL, I give them 3 counts. Here, I'm going to give 5. 1, 5, 4. Yes, second one. Can we get the mics there? Can you please stand so that the person with the microphones can bring them to you? Yeah, one is right in front of me here. It's middle row. The other is this row. I think fourth row. No? Yes? No?
Can you repeat the question, please?
This is a test. What John has said for the last at least half an hour. So would you go to where he is in Panpan, or do you stay where you are?
I'm going to Pampan.
John, can you take one more? I know you can't take many.
We have volunteer a lot.
For sure. With my family. Because I'm from the fish farm, Tilapia Omega 3. Okay. I really salute what you have done. Really salute. It's awesome job. Very sincere from your heart. And really capture what is Pangkor today, International Forum on Sustainable and Inclusive Development. Yes. And that is the best I've ever heard from a farmer like you in agriculture.
Beautiful comments from a beautiful person, but please introduce yourself. So now if John decides on polygamy, maybe he has a chance.
I'm Asmadi Ahmad from Ipoh, from fish farm.
Fish farm.
Tilapia Omega 3. I'm going to your farm as soon as possible with my family.
Kata-kata adalah janji. Thank you. The next one, please. No, gone. Once, twice. Otherwise, I'll move to the front. Where? Okay, there. Please. The one behind first. Excuse me, sir. Yeah. We take the lady from, it's always ladies first, right?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Amy. I am a teacher in Thailand. And I like that you told me that school kill a lot of people School kill a lot of kids, and I agree with you. So I try to teach the new way. I let my students like choose what they want to learn, because if they are happy, they have power to learn. I don't have to force them to learn. And I taught my new way. I explained something like this to my director and my boss. And you know what? They don't like it. They don't like it. They don't like it. And they tell me that, hey, you cannot do that. You have to teach your students like forget their score. And they're not happy to do that. It's like they don't need it. They have to find a way to learn by themselves. So then they can learn without a teacher. So it's like, I don't understand why they don't understand. Why my director don't understand about that.
So what do you want John to do? Become a politician and become Prime Minister?
I like that. I want to be like that.
Thank you. Okay, the absolute last one.
Right. So last night during dinner, I had the privilege of sitting right next to John. Remember the awards dinner, this round table, and I saw him extremely getting a little squirmy with every course meal coming in, those big fish and all this foods coming in. And so I asked him, hey, so we started talking, and I asked him, so does this not make you happy, the food? He says, no. Then I asked him, what makes you happy? And he says, gardening at my farm. Look at that, an 8-course meal, and he wants to go back to the farm. It's phenomenal. Thanks for being an inspiration, John.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause. What do you want to give to get that right to ask a question? Because would you sponsor 10 Perakhian to go to Panpan?
I have a problem.
Go ahead.
I have a problem. I have to mentor and coach a dozen over company CEOs. And they all have mental problem, heart problem, nightmare. They are very busy 24 hours. They are suffering and they are still struggling. I have no answer. So today I learned one thing, that success is not the key to happiness. But if you want to find the happiness is the key to success, I will send the dozen of CEO to your place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully with money and donations. Thank you so much, John Janai.
Thank you. Thank
Khop kun ka.
Thank you.
There is a great need for the introduction of new values, if we listen to John, in our society, where bigger is not necessarily better, but we do have MRT now in KL, where slower can be faster, the rabbit doesn't always win the race, finally, and where actually less can be more. So stop Googling that new iPhone 8 or Samsung Note 8, okay? So what is the quality of life that we want really? That answer is where the next session will deliberate, because they're going to look at the quality of life dialogue 4 for Pangkor Dialogue 2017, and with the topic, the changing landscape in the quality of life. So please put your hands together as I call the panelists to be on stage. Dr. Loh Yuat Kueng, Associate Professor, Department of Chinese Studies, National University of Singapore. Dr. Faiz Shah, Head of Development Management, Asian Institute of Technology, Bangkok. Dr. Muhammad Humayun Qayyumi, Chief Advisor to the President of Afghanistan. And of course, our very own Yang Berhormat Senator Dr. Haji Ashraf Wajdi, Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department. I was told by the Deputy Prime Minister that he went for his Haji Mabrur recently, just got back. So here we believe that it will transmit to us because it's just so recent. And last but not least, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Kiruba Shankar, Chief Executive Officer of Business Blogging India. The floor is yours.
quality of life. What an absolutely brilliant topic to speak on after John's session. You know, it's interesting when you look at a wheel. Just imagine a wheel with 8 spokes. And imagine if each spoke represented physical wellness, intellectual wellness, financial wellness, and so on. If one wheel was longer and the other wheel was shorter, if you were very healthy, but you had no job, if you had a great job, but you were living in a house that's crumbling, all of this is going to affect your quality of life. And so the important thing is that going forward, what is it that we can do for us to lead a healthy, happy, and a well-rounded life? And I'm privileged to have 4 gentlemen who have really performed well in their life. They've climbed up the ladder in a position where they are. We have a politician, we have a diplomat, we have 2 academicians, and their profiles are amazing. So the way how we're going to roll this conversation is I'm going to open a conversation with each one of you, and I'm going to ask them to take not more than 5 minutes to set the context and what they have in their mind. And then I've got a few questions lined up, but I would love for all of you to keep thinking of any questions you want to ask and then shoot them our way. All right? So I'm going to start with the Deputy Prime Minister in the Prime Minister's department. Dr. Ashraf Wajdi is the Senator of Member of Parliament from 2014. He's been President of YADIM, Y-A-D-I-M, Young Dipatu of Islamic Dawa Foundation, and he's also an independent director of the Afin Islamic Bank. Dr. Wajdi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, and a very good evening to everyone. I'm not sure whether I'm the right person to be in the panel talking about quality of life, especially being a politician, whether that definition suits a life as a politician, especially after listening to John. I think it's really it's a paradox between a politician's life and a farmer. I'm sure all of you would agree with me that after listening to John, everyone wants to become a farmer rather than a politician like me. Anyway, of course, the subject of quality of life is something which is very subjective in nature. It all depends on how you define what is quality of life. If you look at various definitions given by many organizations, be it WHO or United Nations, they try to suit the definition of quality of life to the context and to the situation and the locality of the people. Okay? Perhaps one place to another place may be different. But for me, regardless of whatever definition that you want to come out, looking at what is actually the quality of life, I think one thing which I strongly feel, and I subscribe to what our John, the speaker just now mentioned, that we have to really revisit ourselves and what is actually the ultimate objective of life. What do we want in life? Do we want a happiest life or a successful life? Because that would actually define what type of life that you are going to undergo and what type of life that you are going to shape in order to achieve that, or to achieve that mission or the objective of life. Of course, every one of us would very much want the ultimate happiness in life. And of course, one thing which I started to reflect myself after listening to John especially, the whole of my text now changed. I cannot use my text anymore. Because I feel that by, listening to John just now, one thing which I learned is that you don't ever compare yourself, your life to others. Don't ever compare your life to others. Because once you start to compare your life to others, it's actually insulting yourself. Because there's no comparison between the sun and the moon. They shine when it's their time. So it is yourself, you yourself who can actually define what is your destination, what is the right definition of happiness, and what do you want to achieve in your life. Of course, as a man that, who are brought up as a person who are very much, my family actually has taught me from the childhood, the meaning of life is very much associated to the meaning which our religion define us. And of course, as a Muslim myself, the ultimate happiness in life is to attain God's blessing. And in order to attain God's blessing, you would do whatever God asks you to do. And in order to do that, even in the Holy Quran, Allah mentioned that you have to be contented with whatever you have. Don't ever compare to others. Because there's one saying by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him. He said that if a man is given 2 valleys full of gold and full of wealth, he would definitely want the third one. He will only feel contented when his tummy is full with sand or soil. In other words, when he dies, then only he feels contented. So the essence of this is basically, you go back to the very fundamental of the principle of life, that whatever you do is to attain happiness. And in the perspective of religion, you have to seek God's blessing. And in doing that, you have to make sure that your life is full of, you have to feel contented with your life, and you have to always adhere to whatever principles laid down by your God and your Lord. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vajdi. Our next panelist is someone who spent 30 years in the development space. As a volunteer, as a professor, as a professional, he has helped groom thousands of people, helping them, in the grassroots level and molding them. And he's gone to countries like Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. So who better than a person to come in and head the Department of Development Management at the Asian Institute of Technology. And, interestingly enough, he's also the director of the Yunus Center at AIT Bangkok. Dr. Shah, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, bring him a big round of applause and let's hear from him. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I almost thought you were introducing somebody else, but that's very kind of you. Since I just have 5 minutes and 6 slides, I think we could quite easily do without the slides. But can we stop the clock until we have our distinguished guests seated? Is that okay?
Clock around?
Well, it's up to you, really.
I'm the clock. Yes, I'm going to take this advantage to the control room. Can we have the clicker for Dr. Koyomi? And also just fire up his presentation when his turn comes.
And also, I've got a set of slides, if that can be put up already.
Dr. Faisal's slides, please.
And, but if not, I'm sure we can still talk about some.
Can we fire up Dr. Shah's slides, please?
Yeah,
Thank
they're
you.
all up. They're up now. Thanks.
But it's not on the screen. Oh, there.
Just come up. Well, shall we begin?
Yes.
Thank you, Chief Minister, for this perfect timing. Well, your question to me was to carry on this debate about quality of life and aging. I was asked to talk about aging and quality of life, but since I must push the brand of entrepreneurship and social business, I would like to spend a few minutes on the prospect of creating entrepreneurs from senior people. I will retire next year. And at 60, I think I still have a lot of work left in me. I don't feel old that much. I used to think people at 60 are very old. When we looked at our grandparents and they were saying, oh, these are 60-year-old people. But hey, you know, it's okay. I mean, I think I can still go on unless something really drastic happens. I come in somebody's way or whatever. So 60 is actually a great age to bring all the experience, all the flexibility, all the responsibilities mostly, for most of us, what we call family responsibilities are pretty much pushed back. Most of us have, have homes. Most of us have kids in good places and so on. So I think this is a great time to tap into this enormous resource that, you know, not old, but relatively elderly people bring to the world. The next slide talks about, I don't have a clicker, so I'm going to just will this slideshow to go. Oh, there you go. Well, don't have to. But it's great to see that, you know, there is research now that says that as the population ages, there are more elderly people entering the entrepreneurship space than ever before. And why? Because certain communities, certain environments look at aging as a sort of dissociation from society. And traditionally, we have felt that people, when they turn 60, life should end. But for certain countries where the demographics are shifting, they find that these are enormously valuable resources. 10,000 people my age enter the 60-year bracket every day in the US only. And you can imagine that the force that this is going to create is pretty strong. And there was a survey recently done to 2014, which shows that 15% of people who go into retirement after careers, they actually switched into small businesses. And frankly, if you ask me, my own dream is to become somebody that runs a small library cafe, reads their books, talks to young people, and sells coffee. So with apologies to Kunjon, I don't think I'll be growing any vegetables, but I do have a plan like him to cut down the needs that I have, to push back from the wants that I might have had as a young man, and find a more contented life. And also, happiness and contentment are two different things. Some people think they are happy, but they're not content. Other people think they are content, but they're not happy. So the purpose of life, to perhaps most of us, is to get that magic balance where we're happy and content at the same time. So let's see. And the last slide that I have here is this lovely quote that I picked up, and it says that retirement ain't what it's cracked up to be. One should never retire. Or if they're ever forced to retire, they should try to find something productive to do. If you made a survey, you would find that probably 75% would say, I retired too soon. That really captures at least my insight. Nobody wants to retire. But the way we've structured our social systems, the way we've organized our lives, separating quality of life from work life, retirement brings a lot of psychological burden on people. And I think the message going out here, and also from the lovely speech that we have from Kunjon, is that let's get this artificial notion of retirement out of our systems, because there's a lot of people who will actually want to be productive. As I close, because I have another minute, I'd like to also talk about what you said, which is climbing the ladder. I think Kunjon's climbed the ladder too. But if you look at it by corporate standards, we might say, hey, here's a guy who's moved from Bangkok to a farm and now he's working, in a very manual kind of a way. But I want my career to go up the ladder, means I get from perhaps into the corner office and into the bigger suite and then the boardroom and so on. So I think that the way we articulate our life is also very interesting. Climbing the ladder for some might actually be climbing down the ladder. So some of the conventions that we carry with us need to be challenged. And there's no better time than this, with stories that we have, to actually begin to challenge them. My last point is about the story of my life. It's great to talk about quality of life if you've got Evian sitting next to you and you're sitting in a room full of people, air-conditioned, lovely place. But I think there is a lot to be said about Evian, and there is a lot to be said about lovely air-conditioned places. They're great things to aspire to. But then somewhere, if we've aspired to them and we've achieved them, only then do we realize and value what Kunjan was saying. So my humble message to you is, don't discourage people from climbing that ladder or coming down, whatever, drinking that bottle of Evian, sitting in a lovely air-conditioned room. Because it's when you get here is when you realize the truth in what Kunjan is saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shah. That was beautiful. It's interesting how I was watching this documentary of a Japanese village which has the highest number of old people. And apparently also one of the most happiest, because apparently in Japanese language, there's no word for retirement. Retirement was something that was born about 5 decades ago, so you can flush out the old people and in order to get in the new blood. So the concept itself doesn't exist. So they still continue to work even into their 90s and past their century. Our next panelist, if you had looked at your schedule, it really stands out because he's the chief advisor to the president of Afghanistan. That's a wow thing. But there's another wow thing that I found, and I had a deep conversation this morning. He was the president of the San Jose State University, and before that, the president of the California State University at East Bay. Someone who's authored 8 books. And now he brings in the power of Silicon Valley into a country that is one of the fastest growing cities in the world, Afghanistan. Dr. Kurmi, the floor is yours.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. And thank you very much for having me. When we look at, our keynote speaker talked about happiness. I also, as our moderator talked about, I lived in Silicon Valley, the cradle of creativity and innovation. I left all of that. I'm now in Afghanistan for the past 2 years. My work day is about 16 to 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I love it because I'm trying to do something for the youth of Afghanistan to have a better quality of life. I really thank all of the conference organizers, and especially the city of Ipoh, for bringing this conference, because innovation truly is the way that we can improve the quality of life, reduce poverty, improve development, and also protect the environment, because innovation is really becoming an existential issue for all of us, because any nation, any community that is going to be out-innovated is no longer going to be around. So that's why we have to find ways to bring innovation as part of a systemic way and really look at innovation value chains to implement systemic changes. In addition to that, the whole power of digital technology, the cloud technology, the collection of mobile technologies and others are really providing us other opportunities to really bring innovation in a very major way. And as part of that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what are some of the things that we're really doing in Afghanistan. For those of you, especially the older generation who's here, like me or so, think of Afghanistan in terms of Malaysia, where Malaysia was 60 to 70 years ago. In terms of major poverty, no infrastructure, a lot of challenges. And that basically is where Afghanistan is. And what we have really tried to put together is, how can we really move the country forward? And basically what we have tried to do is for the country to become self-reliant, we have to look at what we need to grow in the country in terms of agriculture, what do we need to extract in terms of the minerals, what do we have to trade because of our location, and also what could really be manufactured. First of all, looking at the major resources that we have, we are the upper riparian to 5 of our 6 neighbors, which means in an area of the world where water is so scarce, it's even more important the oil. So how we really manage that water in an area where this is becoming more important is going to be very critical for us, as well as our location. We have been the land bridge between connecting China to Europe, India and subcontinent to Europe, and also all of the Central Asian countries to warm waters. So how we can really use our geographic dividends to the advantage of the country. So in terms of what we need to grow, we are looking at specialty products. For instance, in 10 years from growing 0 saffron, we are the 4th largest growers of saffron. In terms of pistachio, the country is growing quite a bit, pine nuts and others. So we're really looking at not just the grains, but all of the specialty products that we can really develop. In terms of extractive materials, Afghanistan is very rich, not only in terms of hydrocarbons, but in terms of metals, semi-precious, precious stones, and we have one of the largest deposits of lithium, as well as having 14 of the 17 rare earth materials. But as all of you know, extractive industries can be one of the industries that can impact the environment in the most critical way. And many countries in Africa face the resource curse. So the idea is how we can really do that in an innovative way so it can really benefit the largest number of people in the country. In terms of trade and given our location, first of all, we're looking at things that we can really do in terms of trade best. In the 3 areas that we are concentrating on is, first of all, in terms of energy, how we can really connect the energy rich of Central Asia via Afghanistan to Pakistan and India, which have major electricity and natural gas deficits. In terms of moving goods, how we can really be part of the road that can connect China to Europe, as well as India through Europe to land. For instance, right now, the goods from China that it gets to Europe, it takes about 6 to 7 months. Through that kind of a train system, it will take 7 to 8 days. And that really is the key element. In terms of moving of data, also, we have some similar opportunities. For instance, as I talked about energy, you can see some of the projects that we have already started between these countries. We're connecting Central Asia to Pakistan and hopefully eventually to India. In terms of railroads, as I mentioned, there is a project of 5 nation railroads. That's China, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and Iran that will provide this pathway. In terms of roads, we're doing the similar thing so we can connect Central Asia to warm ports down in Gwadar and Charbar in Pakistan and in Iran. And all of these gives us great opportunities in that regard. In terms of the data, right now, if you look at half of the world internet traffic is between Asia and Europe. And right now, because of the maritime cables, it takes 130 milliseconds. Terrestrial cables through Afghanistan will shave about 35 to 40 milliseconds. And every year, 1 millisecond reduction is about worth $100 million. So basically, we're talking about the potential of $3 to $4 billion of savings in terms of the internet. So that's why we look at data to be one of the other key areas we look at. And the other part is in terms of cities and urban areas. This is not Afghanistan. Hopefully we can aspire to be something like this one day. But the key is when we look at urbanization, in the 1800s, only 3% of the world was urbanized. 19th century, 15%, and today it's over 60%. So as cities are really becoming the major force of economic, cultural, and social element of the world, what can we really need to do and how we can really build the cities? And we see one of the key elements is building urban serving universities, because urban serving universities really help us in terms of building the human capital, especially for a country where 3/4 of our population is 30 years or younger. So for us to connect the cities and with the youth and really trying to build universities that can really enhance the vibrancy of the economic region, that can really build a healthy economic and and thriving communities for us that can really serve as wetlands of new ideas and nurture entrepreneurship. I think that's basically how we can really move forward. So basically, as we look at forward, the audacity of imagination is going to be so important as we look at innovative ways. But we also know, as I'll quote one of the Persian poems of Hafiz, that for us, we know it's a long journey that we have. We have already taken the first step. But of course, every journey stops with the first step. And hopefully, as we move forward, in a few years, we can show more success in terms of what we have already been doing. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Koyame. We're going to save up the questions for the last. Our next panelist is Dr. Lo Yud Kyong. So he's a series editor of books on modern Chinese thinkers. So underline the word Chinese thinkers. He's a visiting fellow at Beijing University, Tokyo University, and Harvard University. And he's got a doctorate from University of Michigan on what? On Chinese studies. So who better than him to teach Chinese studies at the National University of Singapore? Dr. Kyong, thank you.
Thank you for your kind introduction. Actually, I have prepared a set of slides, but since apparently we have a little infringement of time allotment, I was wondering if I should just share my thoughts in response to what Zhong had shared with us, since you highlighted Chinese studies. Okay. In fact, actually, I think I should remain silent after hearing what Zhong had told us. But I was also reminded of a very famous story in the Taoist text. The author asked, for monkeys, they would find their resting place up in the trees. For humans, we live in houses. For fish, you'll find them in the water, and so on and so forth. So if we are going to ask the question of what is the proper place to stay, what is the answer? Similarly, for human beings, we eat cereals. For fish, they would eat something else, and so on. We get the idea. So the author is trying to say, whatever we need to sustain our life, including our lodging, our food, our clothing, and so on, it's very hard to really set a standard. So in that sense, in terms of species, of which we are one, we should not take the human perspective or human value as the guiding yardstick. We should respect the fact that there are many, many other species coexisting with us in the same place called Mother Earth. So when we come down to the individual levels, it's important to of course, recognize and respect our own self. But in the Chinese perspective, other than the Taoist perspective I have just introduced, there's also what we call a Confucian perspective, according to which no human being really is an island. Nobody can really live alone by himself or herself. We live with others. In other words, when we talk about a sense of self, it's always a relational self. I am your father, you are my son, that's a relation. I am your teacher, you are my student, that's a relation. I am your husband, you're my wife, that's a relation. We always live in a relational context. So if we talk about the self, it's always a relational self. Of course, this relational self is also grounded in our own self-respect, our own self-dignity. But relationality is very, very important. From that relational self, we further branch it out to a communal self. We live in a community. We don't live in a cave. So while I respect and actually admire the lifestyle, the kind of lifestyle Jung is pursuing, of of course, in his story, even in his story, there's a communal aspect to it, to that individual pursuit of happiness. There's a communal aspect to it. He doesn't live alone. He lives in a community, at least with 20 people. So when we live in a community, I think there are a lot of issues that we need to grapple with. Because as we all know, we cannot single-handedly determine what can happen, what will not happen, or what we want, what we cannot have, and so on. Therefore, we need negotiation when we live in a community. A common experience would dictate that we need to respect others as well. The problem, I think, when we talk about quality of life, there's a hard aspect to it, that is to say there's something that's common to us. The natural environment, for example, is common to us. The living environment is common to us. We are exposed to water, air, light, or even sound pollution constantly. Even though, in spite of the fact that we're exposed to them to varying degrees, but we are exposed to that to some extent. And that discrepancy speaks for a lot of problems. Why such a discrepancy? Why are some people more subjected to such pollution than others? There's a reason. There are natural causes, and I think there are also human reasons, societal problems that would attribute to it. In a sense, maybe to use a buzzword today, I think discrimination is an appropriate word to describe discrepancy of this sort. When we talk about quality of life, when we pursue quality of life, I think we need to be aware of that communal aspect. I can be happy all my life. It doesn't mean other people in the same community I'm living in would have the same kind of fortune. They might actually suffer while I'm enjoying my life. Oftentimes, I might be enjoying my life at their expense. I think we need to be careful of that. Also, as an individual human being, this is my last point, that we owe what we have to our ancestors, we owe what we have to our past. We live in the here and now, but I think we need to be careful, we need to be aware that we are also responsible for our future. In that sense, we also live for our future. In that sense, we are also a historical being who inherit our cultural traditions and is responsible for passing the best of that tradition on to our next generations. I think I'll end it here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Keong. So apparently the time's run out, and I'm seeing red warning lights on the screen. So I'm going to ask the panelists, I'm going to ask you some very short questions, and I want you to give very short answers in respect of everybody's time. Dr. Keong, from a country that has been ravaged through 3 decades of war, it's very difficult to find happiness, but one of the things that's amazing among Afghans is the way how they have survived through and they have gutted this through. So how do you ensure, how do you appreciate that, and how do you ensure that the country becomes better and then bounces back strongly?
I think I look at Afghanistan still to be a frontier country. People are very tenacious. And with all of the wars and everything that people have gone through, nobody feels to be have a sense of being a victim. They are survivors. They've got, throughout history, for several millennia, we've had many decades of devastations. We have had a lot of good periods also. And I think in the same vein, we see this one as one of those periods, but people still feel that the future is brighter, the future is going to be better, and we are going to be able to move beyond this point.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Keong. Dr. Shah, you spoke about aging and its consequences. One of the things I've realized, I have two grandmas, I look at people. One of the things I've started to feel is that as people age, there's a need for them to feel useful, and that qualifies their quality of life. So, in your research, what can you advise?
Well, I think it's not only a need to feel useful, it's a right to be useful. People who've spent constructive lives, people who've spent years, succeeding at even small things. I think the way we construct society seems to ignore that sometimes. And so it's not only research, it's also our own experience and yours, that just allowing that usefulness to carry on prolongs happiness, prolongs life, prolongs contentment. So a lot of us probably who are getting to that stage sometimes dread not the retirement itself, but the walls that go up around people who are labeled as senior citizens or retired people. So I think the discussion that I wish to have is that allow that space. It's people's right to continue to work, to continue to contribute in the best way they can. So they might not be physically very strong sometimes, but the experience, the wealth of what they can bring to society is of enormous value. And we are finding that a number of very innovative programs in Taiwan, in Australia, in Canada, in the US, of course, are now recognizing this as a major force for sustaining some of the good things to society. So I think that this is a topic that we need to open up to more debate. And there's a lot to be heard from the people who are getting to that age group as well.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Shah. Dr. Wajdi, you are in the Prime Minister's office. You've been a member of the Parliament. You and your fellow colleagues have an amazing power to touch people's lives. So how do you ensure you feel the pulse of the people so you can develop the quality of life?
Oh, very tough question within a very limited time I have. But I would like to leave you with a very important point, that what we have discussed about the quality of life is about achieving and attaining happiness. And that's what the government is trying to achieve anyway. And the more important principle of happiness is that to feel content, because happiness comes from contentment. But to be content doesn't mean that you don't desire more. It means you have to be thankful for what you have, and more importantly, to be patient for what to come. That is a very fundamental, because that's why even in the Quran, the word used by God is qana'ah, or contentment. And this word is very powerful word because it brings meaning to life. And what we need to inculcate in our society today is for people to feel contented with what they have, and not only to desire for more, but to be patient for whatever they have to face in future. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. And one final question before we wrap up. Look at the question right at the top. It's got 50 votes. It talks about work-life balance. You spoke about ancestors. You're a master in Chinese studies. What does it teach us?
This is, of course, a very fundamental question of our today's world. I think ultimately, happiness is a very big term. To me, or at least in the Chinese tradition, we would look at this happiness in terms of self-fulfillment. When you look back on your life, right before you pass away, I think the most important question to ask is, have I lived a self-fulfilled life? If it's meaningful, your answer must be yes. So how do you find self-realization, self-fulfillment in what you do? Of course, we need to make a living in order to survive. You can make a living in many, many different ways. You can just make a living because you need the money. Or you can find a way to survive by doing something that you enjoy doing. I think there's a choice for us. Sometimes it's not easy to make, but the choice is in our hands. Similarly, between work and life balance, right? The balance between work and life. Again, it's not easy, but again, as I said, the choice is in our hand. If the work itself is meaningful to you, you find it fulfilling. Working longer hours might not be that bad. For example, when I prepare for my classes, when I do my research, it's often after hours. But I enjoy doing it. Of course, you have to make a balance between the time you spend on your family members and your own meaningful work, because family life to you supposedly is also meaningful.
That's right. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Keong. I just received a note that says if you don't stop, we're going to physically lift you off the stage. I have a funny feeling they mean it. So I truly want to appreciate everyone. Look at this. Look at this audience around. It's packed. And truly appreciate your patience of hanging on till the day. It's not been an easy 2 days, and lots for us to take. So on behalf of all of you, I want to thank Dr. Vajdi, Dr. Kyomi, Dr. Shah, and Dr. Keong for this wonderful session. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the panelists and moderator of the last dialogue for Pangkor Dialogue 2017. Dialogue 4. Now, whoever in the floor, I want to check whether you're still awake or in northern Thailand in your mind. Who can tell me what Bertrand Piccard, and then you say, who that? Can say we'll get a free half-an-hour live show on air with me in the studio. You can Google, right? Bertrand Piccard. Yeah, you're too slow. So I'm going to tell you, in the 21st century, I think the heroes will be the people who will improve the quality of life, fight poverty, and introduce more sustainability. That's what the quote attributed to Bertrand Piccard is. But then again, this is Ipoh, this is Pangkor, and this is Perak. Historically, by legacy, Perak is not ordinary. So I want to improve on the quote by Bertrand Piccard. I'm going to say, in the 21st century, I think the superhero is a leader who not only gives us quality of life, fight poverty, and introduce more sustainability, but if your KPI is 111 or 115 or around that, and you suddenly achieve 145, that's a superhero. And he's too big for just my introduction. We have a video multimedia introduction for him. Ladies and gentlemen, the superhero leader who gave us the best National Day present ever, the SEA Games KL 2017 champion, Yang Berhormat Brigadier General Khairi Jamaluddin. The floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera dan salam negaraku Malaysia. Thank you, Kamarul, for that very generous and kind introduction. Of course, the present that you mentioned was not my doing, but the doing of our fantastic athletes of Malaysia. Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Seri Diraja Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir, Menteri Besar of the State of Perak, State Excos, speakers, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Institute Darul Rizwan and the state government of Perak for inviting me to be the last keynote speaker today at the 4th Pangkor Dialogue. I have been told that this year's dialogue and the Festival of Ideas that preceded the dialogue has once again succeeded in placing Perak on the map as far as the generation of ideas is concerned. As somebody representing the federal government, I would like to congratulate my good friend, Dr. Zamri, for really being the driving force behind the Pangkor Dialogue. And I can't think of a better state than the great state of Perak for where this dialogue should take place. This is a state which has a modern philosopher king in the person of His Royal Highness Sultan Nazrin, a monarch that not only rules, but also leads by example in terms of his scholarship and his thinking. And Perak is also lucky because it is one of the very, very few states in Malaysia to have a chief executive in the person of the Menteri Besar, the Chief Minister, Dr. Zamri, who himself is a public intellectual who has successfully gone into politics and succeeded as a Menteri Besar. Ladies and gentlemen, for far too long, we have looked at progress through pure growth, including here in Malaysia. Especially measurements like gross domestic product or GDP and other forms of macroeconomic measurements were hardwired into the structure of the global economy, the Malaysian economy, and solidified in our minds as the benchmark for success in the world. The greatest growth always meant the greatest progress measured by GDP. Our obsession towards growth was almost systematic, not just in measuring a country's economy, but it extended to become the yardstick of success for companies, for organizations. It was all about the bottom line. It was all about GDP growth. It was all about how much returns we can generate. For having had a successful year means having the largest, the fastest growth, and the growth measured for is the growth of today, and today only. This was true in Malaysia as well. Our Vision 2020, which was envisioned in 1991, envisioned a country that became a high-income economy based on GDP growth. Even the qualitative side of that target was just a symbol of that obsession for growth. Infrastructure development, investments into our urban cities, economic markers like average income, inflation, were key indicators of how we measured ourselves as a nation, how well we were doing with the importance of aspects such as decentralization, decision making, equality, narrowing income disparities, conservation being relegated to a notch under what we felt was important as defining us as a nation. Now, it was, and maybe is still acceptable, for many developing countries to focus on pure growth. But in the day and age of looking beyond present needs, pure growth strategy, concentrating on today and today alone, is no longer enough. The world has moved from aiming for growth today to a sustainable development for tomorrow. We now see this rapid rise of the importance of sustainable development all around us. In 2016, as we all know, the United Nations adopted a set of 17 goals, amongst other things, to end poverty, protect planet Earth, and ensure prosperity for all. These goals covered aspects that were never center stage before for many of us: gender equality, clean energy, equality, renewable consumption, and sustainable production. It's not just governments around the world that are looking at sustainability today. Businesses are being driven by this. Corporations are being driven by how to come up with solutions that look at the future and not just the present. IKEA in 2012 announced its goal to be powered by 100% renewable energy by 2020, has now moved their goalposts even higher, aiming to be a net energy exporter within the same timeline. Yes, the very same place where we buy our furniture. Big financial firms such as BlackRock and Goldman Sachs have defied traditional financial sector norms, providing investment options that factor in environmental, social, and governance elements, these so-called responsible investing. Startups who aim to disrupt also make sustainable development as the problem statement to solve, from Elon Musk's Tesla Model 3, bringing new life to electric vehicle, while Entocycle and the growing army of food sustainability startup aim to build a future without the worry of food insecurity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not just public relations exercises by companies so that you feel good when you buy their products. These are not just promises by politicians so that we look like we are caring for the future generations. But there is real demand from people around the world, especially the millennials, the young generation that I represent, and that I've learned through the exercise here in Malaysia over the last few months of the National Transformation 2050 project, launched by our Prime Minister in January this year, where we set off a series of national conversation, national dialogues, going down, listening to as many young people as possible, a platform for collecting about 100,000 different detailed aspirations from young Malaysians. Sustainability is the key term that they all agreed upon in building Malaysia towards 2050. If there were 5 words that I could summarize what young Malaysians want to see this country emerge as in 30 years' time, is a country that is sustainable, a country that is competitive because we still have to be ahead, a country that is fair in its distribution, in the opportunities that we provide for every single Malaysian, regardless of the circumstances with which they were born, a country that is united, that is able to rise above parochial divisions and divisions of ethnicity, divisions that were perhaps historical baggages that we carried with us before. And fifth, and something that the last panel spoke of extensively, a country that is happy. A country that is happy, that goes beyond your GDP growth, that goes beyond your markers for inflation, your markers for foreign direct investment, but a country that is happy in the sense that they are content and that they are spiritually nourished and that they are emotionally and also physically secure. When we throw with that the fact that 85% of Malaysia will be urbanized by 2050, the young people don't just want better cities with skyscrapers and great jobs. They don't want to see another KLCC in the center of Ipoh. They want to see cities which are green, that are walkable, that are safe, where you can take a stroll from downtown Kuala Lumpur to the suburbs and you are under the canopy of trees all along the way, where it's safe, where you have sustainable transport, where you have a grid of electricity which is renewable and clean. When I told them that villages will be turned into cities by the year 2050, the young people of Malaysia told us that they want to retain the villages, retain the kampong features, but instead bring amenities that are now only omnipresent in the cities to the villages. In other words, They want the rural areas to retain that rural charm, but have all the modern conveniences of being connected to the modern world. With thousands and thousands of aspirations being gathered in response to global megatrends such as the aging population, food security, the growth of underserved segments, a pattern emerges strongly that we have to find a way to build a future that is sustainable. It is no longer enough for us to strive for growth solely for today. We must have one eye on the present and one eye on the future. Sustainable development is what we must collectively achieve as a country, starting from today. And I think the young Malaysians that are here, as well as the many young Malaysians who I've engaged with, understand that development today must not come at the expense of future generations. And that future generations must not bear the debt that we spend today for development's sake today. This, however, ladies and gentlemen, is not an easy feat to achieve. Being growth-driven and being sustainable can sometimes be contradictory, at least in the short term. It differs from many angles, especially when one answers to the shareholders of today, while the other to the stakeholders of tomorrow, to the future generation. The one thing that can help us straddle that fine line between what we need today and securing the future or making a better future for tomorrow is through innovation. Innovation, which at its core, means effecting new ideas in solving existing problems, if embedded thoroughly into a society, can help align the many conflicting wants of the many type of stakeholders for the many contesting timelines today and tomorrow. There are many examples that I can cite. Some of the favorite examples are technology, innovation, changing the transportation landscape. Applications like Grab and other ride-hailing applications have not only built a sustainable business model for their shareholders today, but it also helps in fulfilling a demand for the public, which is in creating a greener future for the society of tomorrow, reducing traffic jams, reducing the need for us to own our own vehicle, ensuring that we maximize resources that are already there. Big corporations and governments all around the world have adopted innovation to solve their respective problems, from flexi hours to allow mothers to stay in the workforce, digitalizing services to increase citizen reach, and much, much more. These are examples of how innovation has created a situation where these considerations, sustainability for the future and also growth for today, are not mutually exclusive. Innovation is not new in Malaysia. For the past few years, we have strived to make institutional and targeted interventions to ensure that Malaysia has the right ecosystem for innovation. And this is part of our responsibility to at least be in line with recent trends. A big portion of our budget every year is earmarked as an investment to spur innovation at the national level. Through both our National Science, Technology and Innovation Policy and National Education Blueprint, various medium, short-term solutions and policies have been crafted to build the right ecosystem for innovation, while with training its human capital as the core base for us to look into the future. Our recent emphasis on the digital economy also helps in building an ecosystem that is ripe for innovation. This sector today contributes about 16.3% to our GDP, and we want to see this increase to 20% by 2020. And there's heavy investments into ensuring that the digital economy works for our small businesses. In order to harness creativity and innovation, we set up the Malaysian Global Innovation and Creative Center MAGIC. It aims to catalyze the entrepreneurial ecosystems in Malaysia by bringing together the abundant resources from partners and communities to develop entrepreneurs of enduring and high growth startups. Through programs like e-Rezeki and e-Usahawan, we launched this to target key communities like young people, SMEs, digital entrepreneurs from the bottom 40 income bracket with an initial allocation of 100 million ringgit. These initiatives have benefited more than 100,000 Malaysians, including right in the rural heartland of Malaysia. We will also be the first country in the world to introduce the digital free trade zone. For the first time, we will truly be plugged into the world with a physical and virtual zones, facilitated by additional online and digital services to spark international e-commerce and invigorate internet-based innovation. In public service, silos were broken and walls were broken down, where various ministries, agencies, and government-linked companies work together innovatively in offering low-cost, high-impact programs that can rapidly be executed for the people. We have about 111 Blue Ocean programs that were initiated by the government, where innovation was the core principle. Just to give you an example, a few years ago, we had a big challenge with crime, and the challenge was trying to bring down crimes in our big cities. Now, many people will tell you that the best way to bring down crime is more police on the beat, police omnipresence everywhere. And we had a problem. We had a problem because we had to train 6,000 new policemen within 1 year to get them deployed on the streets to bring down crime, especially in urban centers. But to train 6,000 police personnel, that would have taken years, simply because of the capacity at our police training institutes. Just couldn't cater for the number of policemen that we needed. So that's where innovation came in. Innovation came in where we were able to break down silos, where we looked around the government and realized that perhaps police training centers were not enough. But there were other centers where we could train these future police personnel. So for the first time ever, I don't think many other countries have practiced this. We got the police and the armed forces together and utilized existing armed forces camps to train the police. We were able to do this at low cost, rapid implementation, high impact, and 6,000 police personnel were able to be deployed within 1 year because the police and the armed forces got together, silos were broken down, innovation was the driver in solving a public policy problem. Ladies and gentlemen, with the amount of investment brought in, being allocated for innovation, it is a simplified excuse to say that our inability, our systemic inability, is the reason we are behind the most innovative economies out there. As we fared lower in various scores of innovation, this is an opportune moment for honest reflection here in Malaysia. Chief of which is, we must now accept that we can never be an innovative country if our society is not an innovative society. We also have to accept that top-down strategic intervention is no longer enough. Our former Prime Minister, Tun Abdullah Badawi, once famously said that Malaysia is a country with first-world infrastructure, but with, sadly, still third-world mentality. That was true then, but it is more relevant now in a world which is racing ahead in innovation. The world is now more ground up, with power devolved from the government to the people, thanks to technology. Governments with third world society and thinking that isn't innovative can no longer catch up with governments with innovation that is driven from the ground up. Hence, through the Pareto principle, 80% effort to achieve 20% effort to achieve 80% impact with regards to innovation in Malaysia, the key is to shift the mindset of our Malaysians. If there is one thing worthy of intervention in order for us to achieve sustainable development, it is an intervention to achieve a collective shift of mindset amongst us all. I don't have a recipe of what kind of societal mindset builds an innovative mind, but if we take social media as a yardstick of how we think as a society, which it frankly is, then we are fast moving towards the opposing end of an innovative society. Wired magazine and The Guardian recently mentioned the new global trend of how social media has evolved into echo chambers that help propagate hate and is fast tearing us apart. And our society is fast falling into this trap. How something that was supposed to help us connect with friends and families turned into something so toxic and divisive, feeds into the old adage that technology is only as good as its users. Social media, which helps bring out our true face as a society, is a reflection of the mindset that we need to collectively change. All day, many of us use social media to fight, not to connect. It showcases our societal norm, not as a caring, peaceful society, but one that shames other people. We no longer strive for an originality in thought, but instead post whatever it is people care about, striving for shares and retweets. We wake up every morning not to share good news or solutions, but to jump and complain about the hottest, trendiest issue of the day to increase our followership. A platform that is supposed to help us channel ideas and exchange of thoughts quickly has become one which is used to bash and shame people. The boldness that is needed to push an innovative idea forward is channeled to criticizing such ideas with no alternative suggestion. While innovators around the world fear of missing out on the opportunities of the digital economy, we fear of missing out on the juiciest gossip of the day. It is not that technology is to be blamed. They only help to bring into life what we truly are as a society. My fear is that we are far behind in becoming a society that creates, that solves problems, that is original, and that is bold, all of which is needed to build a truly innovative and sustainable nation. When Mark Zuckerberg saw that his university mates cannot share whatever they want with their friends, he didn't complain. He created Facebook. Salman Khan thought that education should be free. He didn't just tweet about how ridiculous his education system is. He created the Khan Academy. When Joe and Brian were struggling to pay rent, they didn't just create a shareable meme about how high the cost of living is, but they started Airbnb. I can go on and on about how great innovative ideas of our generation was born, but they all shared the same recipe. They saw a problem and they solved it for a better future. Through the opportunity given to me, I have met our fair share of young Malaysians that are truly innovative. They saw a problem and they worked hard to solve it. People like Zamir from Teach for Malaysia, who works and doesn't whine in trying to make a better education system. People like Faisal Arif, who works and doesn't complain about our immigration system. Ganesh Moran, who aims to provide clean energy to rural communities, to the Orang Asli communities. Louisa, who works hard to protect our nature, and many, many more great young Malaysians who wake up every morning working for a solution to benefit society. They don't merely complain, tweet, Facebook, whine. They innovate for a better future. Now, these are great examples, but you and I know that these examples are not enough. To truly have an innovative country is to have an innovative society with innovative individuals. One cannot be an innovative society if we are made up by individuals that merely propagate and create and share problems and not solve those problems. Hence, this is our greatest challenge for those in this hall today and those outside it, to collectively shift the mindset of our society towards one that is innovative. To one that sees a problem and doesn't see it as a problem, but as an opportunity. For one that sees the problem and sees a solution to that problem. Because if we don't, not only will we not be able to shift from growth towards sustainable growth, but we risk a greater problem. That all the sustainable growth plans that we have created will ring hollow because the society it is supposed to serve is not in itself innovative and sustainable. We risk missing out on the most important element of a sustainable developed country, which is a society with the right mindset. And that brings me back to where I started my speech. If we want to create a society with the right mindset, with the ability to innovate, with a thirst of knowledge, with the humility to know that we do not know everything, with the compassion to understand that people try their best and sometimes they make mistakes, but we're all in this together. Without the contestation of ideas, without the willingness to go out there and learn something new every day and understand that we do not know it all, without the ability to come together and speak and discuss and deliberate in a mature, rational context, then we will not have taken that first step towards innovation. Innovation can only exist on the foundation of ideas and on the foundation of that humility to want to embrace different ideas. And on that score, I believe that a sustainable future, an innovative future for the state of Perak at least, is very much within your grasp. Because here, you plant the seeds of ideas. You plant the seeds for young people to know that if you want to learn something new, you don't just read a tweet, go and read a book properly. If you want to learn ideas, go and talk to somebody. Don't just forward a WhatsApp message that somebody gave you without checking whether it's true or not. These are the challenges that we face today. These are the challenges that the millennial generation faces. And it's a serious challenge. And I know a little bit about this, being the Minister of Youth for this country. Now, I've painted a picture which is challenging, which is at times pessimistic, but I do believe in the young people of Malaysia. But the guidance must come from leadership like that we've seen in the state of Perak under Dr. Zamri. Thank you, sir. Thank you for... I don't say this because you invited me to speak here today. I say this with deep conviction. Thank you for not reducing politics to a soundbite. Thank you for not reducing politics to a campaign slogan. And thank you for not reducing politics to cheap political point scoring. The business of politics must be about solving problems. And it must also be about inspiring people to also come on board to solve problems. We cannot do it on our own. The era of government knows best, it's over. We must do this together. We are in this together. Together, we are stronger. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Yang Berhormat Brigadier General Khairi Jamaluddin. Yes, we know it's the athletes that work, but it's the leader that counts, and that's YB Brigadier General. I think we can give a bigger round of applause. You know the SEA Games KL 2017, it makes your skin tingle. And then preceded with the closing ceremony was a national day. Again, it raised so much spirit and emotions. But history is the legacy that we must anchor ourselves to. And there's no better confluence of history than the pride of Perak, which is the Sungai Perak. And the civilization that we have, our forefathers, way before the Western colonial power came, is very water-based. And for that, I want to tell you the story of Rumah Kutai. Don't worry, I'll still be in English. I'm a Malay, but Kutai I had to Google. Rumah Kutai is a traditional house whose unique architecture of Perak can be found alongside the river banks of Sungai Perak. What if I do a quiz now, and whoever answers, I'll give you a free Wi-Fi with YB Brigadier General KJ. How long is Sungai Perak? Not good enough. YB Brigadier General is this tall, okay? So you need to reach that height. It's 400 kilometers, and along the river banks, you can see the house also known as Rumah Bumbung Melayu. For our foreign guests, that means the Malay roofed house. So there's a book now, and this book is an effort taken by Institute Darul Rizwan IDR and the Center for Knowledge and Understanding of Tropical Architecture and Interior, short name Kutai, of Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying, UiTM Perak, to create awareness about the threat of extinction on these houses. Readers will be acquainted with the knowledge of Rumah Kutai through the architectural dimensions portrayed in the book. It is undoubtedly a fascinating pictorial journey of architecture, people, and its memories. So with that, I would like to invite Yang Amat Berhormat Menteri Besar and Yang Berbahagia Dr. Mazlan Khamis on stage for us to see the launching of this very special book. If I can hazard a guess, I would guess that Yang Amat Berhormat Menteri Besar is comparing it to the Rumah Minang, where Yang Berhormat Brigadier General Khairi is in. Yang Amat Berhormat, of course, the tradition, not just for the photos, but Wi-Fi and selfies, you must put your autograph on the book. Yeah. Oh, you can, it's your show. In the true form of unity, not just Perak, but Negeri Sembilan elements into the Rumah Kutai. Come on, one more round of applause. Thank you so much. I would like to invite our honored guests back to their seats. And it's with the legacy of tradition. I've been here since the first Pangkor dialogue. Words sometimes over 2 days can be too much and too long. So the organizing committee has put together multimedia presentation of the highlights of this year's Pangkor Dialogue 2017. Enjoy. You've seen the video, you have attended the sessions, and now please put your hands together to welcome and invite Dr. Mazlan Khamis, CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Institute Darul Rizwan, you know, the right hand of the Amat Berhormat Menteri Besar for Pangkor Dialogue. Please take the stage.
The hardest part of taking on the center stage after YB Khari Jamaluddin is that no one is interested to listen to you. YB KJ has it all. He is tall, dark, and handsome. But at least I know I'm not that short. Well, we're almost as dark and not that bad at all, isn't it? Well, anyway, do you know what it feels like to stand on the edge of a mountain to see one's vision coming true in a landscape of beauty? It was daunting at first, trying to turn an ethereal vision into reality. When I asked Datuk Sri Zamri, what kind of festival of ideas do you want? I remember his gesture, every gesture indeed. He said, you just close your eyes, imagine. You are in the festivities. With that, I take that challenge. It is certainly very fulfilling to see an undertaking we have worked so hard for finally coming together in such harmonious, well-organized, and meaningful manner. So, I hereby congratulate the courageous individuals in the state government of Perak, our state agency partners, our strategic partners, the Northern Corridor Implementation Agency, Authority, NCIA, United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and my beloved staff from Institute Darul Rizwan for their courage. For their courage, persistence, and creativity shown in the past year that have made our aspiration to make Pangkor Dialogue 2017 better and bigger a reality. The numbers are now out. Total participants for Pangkor Dialogue 2017 stands at 1,807, surpassing our target of 1,200 by over 600 more people. And more than 25% of 500 of you come from out of Perak. Thank you to each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart, and know that none of this would have happened had it not been for you. Ladies and gentlemen, on the first day of Pangkor Dialogue 2017, we were immensely blessed when the Sultan of Perak, Sultan Nazrin Muazzin Shah, graced the halls of Kejurina, this particular hall, with His Royal Highness presence. Tuanku called for the rethinking of development if we were to make a better future. And that is exactly what had happened. 8 keynotes, 11 plenaries, 4 dialogues, and almost every session call for different ways at how we conduct our business and our lives. We have brought inspiration from space, from the far corners of the globe, and of course, from our neighbors and within our very own borders. I am certain that the royal address has created a sense of awareness for each and everyone in the audience on the issues facing the world today and the future. It is now in our stride to breathe life into His Royal Highness address and answers the pertinent questions Tuanku has so poignantly mentioned. Ipoh had never before seen massive traffic jams just because everyone wanted to be a part of the festivities and celebrations. And interestingly, it was centered around learning, knowledge, and ideas. over 70 events, attracting more than 80,000 people, created a frenzy of activities all over Ipoh and beyond. We were caught by surprise when we discovered that the Malaysian Book of Records had confirmed that the Perak Festival of Ideas had the most number of events held in a week. Some of you may be asking, so what? What will happen to all these ideas and input? I hope to see ripples of changes in the society from the actions of this year's participants coming into reality and affecting change into the state of Perak and eventually to the country and the world. I hope that next year Pangkor Dialogue will be more about actions than theories, and for the participants to be able to roll up their sleeves, go to the ground and experience the exhilaration of being a part of an honorable movement to craft the future of our dream. Pangkor Dialogue and the Perak Festival of Ideas would never have happened if Datuk Sri Diraja Dr. Zamri had not given me and IDR his support and his confidence to take on this challenge. For that, Datuk Sri, here is our tribute to you.
Saya perlu melakukan sesuatu kepada masyarakat saya. Tugas dan tujuan matlamat kita memberikan tumpuan kepada seluruh rakyat negeri Perak, di mana saja mereka berada. Saya lahir dalam sebuah keluarga nelayan dan hidup dalam sebuah pulau dalam suasana kemiskinan. Mulai tingkatan 4 dan 5 saya dapat peluang untuk belajar di luar daripada pulau. Kehidupan waktu kecil itu banyak mempengaruhi saya untuk mentadbir sebuah kerajaan dan memimpin rakyat. Cabaran saya ialah pertama, mengekalkan keamanan dan juga meneruskan unjuran pertumbuhan, dan dalam masa yang sama memastikan keharmonian dalam masyarakat. Sebab itu kita nak menggabung jalinkan antara kedua-dua aspek ini, aman dan dalam masa yang sama kita berjaya. Kita lihat dari segi aspek aman jaya ini dalam konteks 7 teras utama berhubung dengan 3 matlamat tentang kualiti yang baik, iaitu kualiti kehidupan kita, ya, kualiti peluang-peluang dan juga dari segi kualiti pendapatan dia. Kita nak memastikan setiap rakyat tiada yang tertinggal dan tiada yang terpinggir.
Thank you very much, Datuk Sri, and thank you to all of you for your continued support to the State Government of Perak and Pangkor Dialogue. Thank you very much.
I think Dr. Mazlan, if you can please stay on stage. And I would like to invite once again Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Sri Diraja Dr. Zamri to go on stage, because there's thousands of ideas, more than 10,000 I guess, and there's key takeaways I think that Dr. Mazlan would like to share. So we've seen your video, now we want to see you live on stage so that we can experience more. So if you could honor us once more to be on stage. Come on, let's give a big round of applause. Yes, photographers, please come to the center. I'm sure YB KJ doesn't mind. Usually the flash blinds his eyes, so you can blind his right. Okay. So, okay. First is the presentation of 10,000 flags. Right? No, not yet. Right. A key takeaway. We go for the mind first, the key takeaways. It's canggih now, sophisticated. It's just given in the form of an iPad of the Dialogue 2017 Pangkor Dialogue key takeaways. And I guess now, after this, I just need to borrow your password and I can get the secrets of it. Okay, cool. We're not friends yet on social media. We have to rectify. Now, I think it's time for the flags. Hold on. Let's coordinate. Yeah. It's coming. Yes. So, okay. So now I would like to invite the representative of Datuk Reza Rafiq, the Chief Executive of Northern Corridor Implementation Authority, Saudara Muhammad Zaki Saman, and also Mr. Asfazam Kasbani, the Assistant Resident Representative of UNDP, to not only receive the key takeaways, but we also have to have solidarity. Azib, as usual, would like to remind me that we're still at the idea stage. Yes, Azib, we'll do everything together. The flags represent 10,000 ideas. So the key takeaways is for NCIA to implement and elevate for the corridor and also at the national level. And it's also for UNDP to promote for the global agenda. Isn't that nice? So I would like to invite Dr. Mazlan, the representative, Saudara Muhammad Zaki Saman and Mr. Asfazam back to their seats. But as usual, the man of the hour, Yang Amat Berhormat, you are not allowed to go down. We are not finished with you. We love you so very, very much. But Dr. Mazlan, I'm giving you a rest. Take holiday for 5 minutes while Yang Amat Berhormat is on stage. Okay? Ken. Please, by all means. Mr. Azib would lead to present the token of the 10,000 flags of ideas. Okay, let's take a picture first. I'm told that the one flag is from Professor Anil Gupta. The thinker for the grassroots. Azib, the post cannot just be schema. This is the Yang Muhammad Menteri Besar of Perak. It's very creative, you know. I just like to tease Azib there. Okay, as our young future leaders of now and the future makes their way out, you know, we can never hear enough of the thought leader. We've heard from the great younger leader, YB Brigadier General KJ, but we want to hear from the man himself, Yang Amat Berhormat, Datuk Sri Diraja Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir. The mic is yours, the floor is yours, the stage is yours. Please lead the way.
I hope I'm standing in the right place today. Wow, you all still remember that's what happened yesterday, though. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, selamat petang, salam satu Malaysia, salam Perak Ahmad Jaya, Saudara Kamarul, Your Excellencies, respected ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your presence at this conference today. I hope you have enjoyed it and found it rewarding and thought-provoking. We spend time worrying about the future, trying to predict the future as if figuring it out will cushion the blow. But the future is always changing. The future is the home of our deepest fear and wildest hope. But one thing is certain, when it finally reveals itself, the future is never the way we imagine it. We listened to the lectures since yesterday, but in my view, the most important thing is for us to set our own future. We craft the future because the immensity of human being, we are able to set our future. We can create our own happiness, not someone else to impose on you, like John Jandai and the rest has been alluded to us. At Pangkor Dialogue, we convene top-notch speakers to deliberate and share sustainable economic development issues and ways to address them. Listening to Cady Coleman's insightful experience in her spacecraft millions of miles in the galaxies, Dr. William Tan's outstanding strength in overcoming adversities, and Thailand's happiest man. This is always smiles. John Jandai's detachment from monetary values and his contentment and happiness in life bring us to an astounding realization, which appropriately complement His Royal Highness Tuanko's astute royal address yesterday, that the era where economic performance is solely measured by using GDP and financial protocols need to be revisited, as also alluded by Brother KJ just now. Unlike Pangkor Dialogues, Festival of Ideas started with a wishful thinking. How wonderful would it be for the states to move beyond teen minds to mind, teen minds, M-I-N-E-S, to M-I-N-D. something that we can share, Professor Humayun, too, with our experience changing the thing, changing the trend in the state of Perak. For everyone to indiscriminately volunteer for ideas for the state to further progress, again, the actual outcome has outdone the wishful thinking royally. The festival reaches out to a far greater audience than would be expected at typical conferences and seminars, and generate conversation about ideas and creativity on a much larger scale. The entire city is in a frenzy, collecting 10,000 ideas, as you witnessed just now, which was daunting at first, is now a reality and has earned recognition in Malaysian Book of Record. Most numbers of events organized in 1 week. More than 70 programs. I would love to imagine that Pangkor Dialogue has arrived. It has moved beyond a platform to exchange ideas, views, and opinions. It has even graduated from being a mere talking shop to an arena with world-class thoughts and insights. We have moved beyond collaboration and partnerships. We are even in a step ahead of Industry 4.0, where now we need to further challenge ourselves to create a new future with Pangkor Dialogue 5.0. With that in mind, UNDP and NCIA have collectively agreed to permanently set up Pangkor Dialogue Secretariat in Ipoh with the Institute Darul Ridwan. This marks yet another milestone in our commitment to ensure Pangkor Dialogue would evolve to become an authority of reference for sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, knowledge comes, but wisdom lingers. Through the past 2 days of interactions, deliberation, and musing, I hope we have become wiser again. I thank all for joining us in the adventure and journey of Festival of Ideas and Pangkor Dialogue. Let us continue to build a better and sustainable future together. See you in 2018. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Seri Diraja Dr. Zamri. By all means, we don't torture you so long. You know, if ever one thing I take away from Pangkor Dialogue since the very beginning when it was still in Lumut, this year is about happiness and quality of life. I'm not a poet, but Pangkor Dialogue made me feel poetically inspired. So I'll try this in Malay. Please bear with me, our friends from overseas. This is just for Yang Amat Berhormat. Anak utara merantau jauh, dari padang besar ke Pulau Pangkor. Perak ni juara memantau jauh, dari menteri besar berkilau sohor. I'll give one for the international delegate, but I want to say my thanks. I would like to thank all His Excellencies, international local speakers, on behalf of the organizing committee, also the international and local delegates, the media, my fellow media, rapporteurs, volunteers. Just like KL 2017, the volunteers are the unsung heroes now here. And of course, without resources and support and partners. First, the Northern Corridor Implementation Authority, United Nations Development Programme for the first time, UNDP, PKNP, Perbadanan Kemajuan Negeri Perak, of course the Menteri Besar Inc., Menteri Besar Incorporated. Without them, you have no water, Lembaga Air Perak, and a very funky SADC, Perbadanan Pembangunan Pertanian Negeri Perak, RHB Islamic Bank Berhad, VAIL, Pejabat Belia Sukan dan Sumber Manusia Perak. the leader inspiring our SEA Games gold medal rugby, Yayasan Bina Upaya Invest Perak TNB Jana Manjung, Perbadanan Kemajuan Ekonomi Islam Negeri Perak VC Cendrawasih, Uber, Destination Perak, Proton, RTM, and of course Astro Awani. So I would like to end, before we meet again next year, for the benefit of everyone, a wise man once said, I am the only one, but I am the one. Pangkor Dialogue is the only one, but it is the one. I can't do everything, but I can do something. Pangkor Dialogue cannot do everything, but of course it can do something. And I will not let what I cannot do interfere with what I can do. Pangkor Dialogue will not let what it cannot do interfere with what it can do. And as the only Malaysian representative at the heart of Davos World Economic Forum in January last year, I can attest to you, this is the best, non-elitist, bottom 40% oriented conference and dialogue I've ever been to. With that, thank you very much. Ampun dan maaf di atas segala kesilapan. You can still try to take a Wi-Fi from the gentleman upstairs. And technology. Somebody asked, why don't you tell where to buy this Rumah Kutai book lah? This Rumah Kutai book will be available starting next Monday at the conference price of 100 ringgit. The normal price is 120. Malaysians like cheap discount. But if you want the autograph version, you have to come to the front and ask them yourself. So good night and goodbye.
Any form of human activities, you need ideas. And Perak needs ideas to move forward.
Pangkor Dialogue is an international knowledge exchange. That's how I see Pangkor Dialogue. Yeah? It is an event that explores the challenges and what it takes to build a resilient society, what it takes to build an inclusive society in light of the external environment, in light of the prevailing conditions of the economy.
Pangkor Dialogue is actually branding Perak. You need to do the packaging now, you need to do the marketing now.
So we know that sustainability, inclusiveness is a global issue. The good thing is that we catch on it. We thought just ours, but actually it's shared globally, and hence the theme stays. So now we brand Pangkor Dialogue as the international dialogue on sustainability and inclusive development.
Sustainable development from social perspectives, as Pangkor Dialogue not only emphasizes on economic development, but also inclusive growth. So somewhere along the line, women have got to decide what they want to do.
When it comes to sustainable development goals, it affects everybody. There is no one literally left behind, because you're talking about environment. If we do not take care of it, there's not going to be a planet.
By having this Pangkor Dialogue, all the different elements and all the different skill sets are meeting together in that melting pot, right? And when they meet together in that melting pot, it becomes more synergistic, it becomes a show and tell, and it also becomes a best practice sharing session so that other people can learn.
I feel Pangkor Dialogue offers us the platform to engage with as many people as possible to showcase solutions that work.
I am very inspired by the Pangkor International Dialogue and Perak Festival of Ideas. It's an ideal platform for young people to come out and share their ideas. But not only that, the challenge now is, how do you take that platform and realize your ideas?
We believe that ideas are the key to progress. I'm a firm believer in ideas. Our aim, we hope that the world will know what Pangkor Dialogue is all about. The program we call tiada terpinggir, tiada tertinggal. There is no one left behind.